All right, everybody. We're going to add a little piece of material to this neck now that it's all dressed up with a fingerboard and the headstock overlay veneer. And before we get started on that, let's have a look at how we did with our glue up. I went in here with a knife on both sides just to verify that we got a beautiful job on the butt joint here. As you may remember, this headstock veneer we sanded to 4 degrees on the Alberti hand-powered disc sander, and came out dead nuts perfect, so that's nice. A little squeeze out in here, nothing that we can't clean up quickly. And then let's see how we did with centering the fingerboard on the neck. This is the important end. All right, we got 61 and 67, so that's very close. And then over here, 32. And 19. So just fine for our purposes. Got all the material we need to get the right shape out of the edge of the fretboard, which in my opinion is kind of a big deal. On some builders make the edge of the fretboard kind of square to the surface, and I don't think that's right. It's properly a component of the back of the neck shape, so we need to make sure we have enough overhang so that we can swing into that material and get a nice shape that doesn't feel clunky on the edge. And before we go ahead and clean up the rest of this and sand the neck, I'm going to do 2 more things. One is we're going to stick on a piece of ebony on the end to cover up the laminate in here, the end of the veneer, end of the carbon fiber, end of the neck core, and the end of the fingerboards. What we're going to use is a piece of ebony veneer. This is 0.75 millimeter or 30 thousandths. It's not enough material to really compete with the material on the end of the neck in terms of stability and movement. And in fact, it seems to me to be just about the right thickness so that when you put a little chamfer or round over, whatever detail you want here at the corner, it just kind of disappears. If you do a nice job gluing it on, you can't see the glue joint, and it just looks like it's a round over, and you can hardly tell because the ebony is so finely grained. Now, I've done this with a bunch of different ways, including just, holding it with my fingers while the glue set. One other option you have, of course, is to just set it where you want it and then get in there with crazy glue and just flood it with crazy glue and hold still and, hope you get it. And I've tried that and gotten that to work. But my problem with that is that it turns out the crazy glue or cyanoacrylate adhesive is pretty brittle. What can happen is if it gets a shock, it can part all at once and fail catastrophically. So I'm going to use our regular room temperature curing epoxy. In this case, I'm using West Systems resin again, 105, 205. And then I have a fixture. I'll show you that I finally broke down and built a fixture to clamp this thing on so that I don't have to play around with it and guess. So the way this works is like this. So first we clamp this down on the neck pin, and that puts the end of the neck on center with these rods. And then there's this plate that clamps on the end of the fretboard and neck, and then this piece that goes on the end and clamps onto that. Of course, you'll see all this in real time in a minute. And then these little screws are going to hold that on. So the point is that this arrangement means this can pivot as needed, so we don't have to get the these clamps perfect. Whatever we do, it's going to resolve and push squarely on the end of the neck, and we'll get a good clamping pressure all the way across. So this is a little piece of aluminum with a little dowel of brass and a little groove in here for it to pivot on. And there's Teflon tape, my favorite bondable Teflon tape, stuck to this surface, which means we can't bond the tool to the part. Okay. First thing we'll do is shorten this by cutting off the extra material on the discs, belt sander, pardon me. And then we'll move to the disc sander and take off a tiny bit of material on the beautiful and accurate hand-powered Alberti disc sander. So first we'll mark this so we don't take off too much on the belt sander, and also we'll put a piece of tape on the fretboard to keep it from getting scratched. Okay. So what I've tried to do here is to sand off the core material, etc., to get super close to the end of the ebony fretboard, which is already at the right shape, angle, and length without cutting into it. And you can see over here I've cut into the glue squeeze out a little bit, but I have stayed away from the ebony altogether, which is what I had hoped to do. And now we're going to go to the famous Alberti sander that I enjoy using so much. I'm going to set this to 0 degrees. See how that looks. I should mention that there is, quite normally, there's a pickup that goes on the end of this. Most of my customers want a pickup on their guitar, and I have such a nice one to offer, designed by Bob Palmieri of Duneland Labs. Almost everybody wants that. So we're going to set up the end of this. Maybe we'll make a pencil mark. So we'll just make a mark here where we can see what we've done. Just take the merest cut just to get some sense of where we are. So, okay, a little more cut. Okay, it's cutting on the left side. So, clean this off a little bit. Okay, well, I've gotten what I wanted. Nice flat surface. I think this is 150 grit. Should be good enough, but if we want, we can doll it up with a little hand sanding with 320 back at the bench. Just to make sure this is where I wanted it, I'm gonna just take a quick measurement. And 384, 383. Well, that's hard to see how we're going to do better than that. So this is perfectly square to the center line of the neck and parallel to the fret slot. I'm going to just sand in the center a little bit. Make sure I'm not fooling myself. Well, it feels nice and flat. It's great. And now I think we can get a cut over the whole thing. All right, I think we're good. That's good. I see all the surfaces have the same sheen on them from the 320 paper, and that'll mean we have exactly what we want. Okay, so these are lifetime supply here. Here's my little cutout template, layout template. And this, of course, is going to firm up the fixture in a nice way. This material is actually from those junky decks. You know what I mean? Those plastic decks, and sort of try and pretend to be something that they're not. Just eyeball checking to make sure that this is about in these clamping posts are about in the center of our neck, and everything is snug down. I guess we'll go back here on the vise for this. I'm going to mix 5 grams of 105 resin and 1 gram of 205 hardener off camera. See you in a minute. Here's my stirred up resin. This Doug fir is so fine grained. I don't expect it to soak much up, but you never know until you put it on. We'll see if there's any. It's going in. I was wrong. The ebony doesn't soak up anything. I mean, you can almost throw ebony in water and nothing happens. Almost. So here's a little 30,000th piece. Doesn't seem to be moving now. So yeah, it's especially important on the end grain glue ups that everything is really wet. Okay. Well, quite a bit oversized, I think. And we can see it's going to be going everywhere. It's about the right amount. Maybe you could take some off. Perfect. Okay, make sure we got a part lined up. Oh, which is not. Okay, well we got ebony sticking out all over the place. Looks good. we can see that, you know, whether we've done this perfectly or not, obviously the pressure's all in the center, so that's good. Well, I guess we could wipe off a little epoxy. Wait, did I forget to put in the truss rod? Oh, I forgot. There's no truss rods on these guitars. Okay. Well, that's good. Anyway, there it is. So next step on this bad boy is just to sand it up, make everything pretty, and we'll cut the holes in the back of the headstock for the recesses, that is, the holes and the recesses for the Godo stealth tuning pegs. I have a little fret magic stuff to show you, which should be fun, I think, and build another pretty neck.